Welcome to the GED Social Studies preparation session. In this presentation, we'll explore some key concepts and skills you'll need to know to succeed in the social studies section of the GED. Whether it's U.S. history, government, or understanding the effects of important historical events, we'll walk through each of them step by step.
In this session, we'll focus on two key areas: what to know and skills to develop. Let's break it down. The what to know will cover essential topics like U.S. history, government, and major historical events. The skills to develop will focus on how to connect those historical events, understand their causes and effects, and even relate them to current issues today. By the end of this presentation, you'll feel more confident in recognizing key historical events and understanding the broader context in which they happened.
Let's start with the basics of U.S. history. There are a few key events and eras that you should be familiar with. 1. The U.S. Constitution. This is the foundation of our government. Understanding the Constitution means understanding the rules that govern how the U.S. operates. 2. The Civil War and Reconstruction, a crucial turning point in U.S. history. The Civil War was fought over issues like slavery, and Reconstruction was the period afterward focused on rebuilding the country and integrating formerly enslaved people into society. 3. World Wars. Both World War I and World War II were pivotal events that shaped the U.S. role on the global stage. The U.S. emerged as a major world power after these wars. 4. The Civil Rights Movement, a major movement for racial equality in the 1950s and 1960s, leading to landmark laws like the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Additionally, there are important figures you should know, such as U.S. presidents, activists, and military leaders who played significant roles during these periods.
Now, let's look at a sample question to see how you might apply this knowledge in the GED exam. What event directly led to the United States entering World War II? The attack on Pearl Harbor. B. The signing of the Treaty of Versailles. 2. The D-Day invasion. 2. The beginning of the Cold War. The correct answer is A. The attack on Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. This led to the U.S. declaring war on Japan, officially entering World War II. Understanding key events like this one is important for both the exam and for understanding U.S. history.
Next, let's talk about skills to develop in social studies. For the GED, you'll need to 1. Recognize and understand major historical events. Knowing when and why significant events happened is critical. 2. Understand the causes and effects of significant periods and movements. For example, understanding why the Civil War happened and how its aftermath shaped the U.S. is key. 3. Connect historical events to current events. History doesn't exist in a vacuum. By understanding past events, you can better grasp how they influence today's world. These skills are all important for both answering questions on the GED and developing a deeper understanding of history.
Let's put these skills to the test with another sample question. Which of the following is an example of the effect of the Great Depression on the U.S. government? A. The passage of the Civil Rights Act. B. The creation of the Social Security Administration. C. The end of Prohibition. D. The establishment of NATO. The correct answer is B. The creation of the Social Security Administration. The Great Depression was a time of massive economic struggle in the U.S. The government responded by creating the Social Security Administration in 1935 to provide financial assistance to the elderly, unemployed, and disabled. This is a great example of how a major historical event led to significant government reforms.
Now that we've covered some of the essential topics and skills you need to focus on for U.S. history, let's move on to other key areas in social studies, including government, civics, and economics. Let's now turn to civics and government, which is a critical part of your GED Social Studies exam. Understanding how the U.S. government works and the documents that support it is essential for this section. There are several key concepts you need to understand. 1. The Constitution and Bill of Rights. These documents form the foundation of U.S. government and law. You should be familiar with concepts such as O checks and balances, a system where each branch of government, executive, legislative, and judicial, can limit the powers of the others to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. O. Separation of powers, the division of government responsibilities into different branches to prevent any one branch from gaining too much power. O. Individual rights, the rights guaranteed to citizens by the Bill of Rights, like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to a fair trial. 2. Types of government. There are different types of governments around the world. In the US, we operate under a democracy and republic system. A democracy means that the people elect leaders to make decisions, while a republic means that the elected representatives work within a system of laws to govern. 3. Political ideologies and systems. These are the beliefs about how government should be organized and how power should be distributed. For example, O. Liberalism focuses on social progress and government intervention to promote equality. O. Conservatism emphasizes tradition and limited government intervention. O. Federalism is the division of power between the national government and state governments. Being familiar with these concepts will help you not only answer questions on the test but also understand the framework that governs the United States.
Let's practice with a sample question. Which document outlines the fundamental principles and framework for the U.S. government? The Declaration of Independence. B. The U.S. Constitution. C. The Emancipation Proclamation. D. The Federalist Papers. The correct answer is B. The U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is the document that establishes the structure of the government, outlines the powers of each branch, and provides the framework for how the government functions. The other documents listed, while important, do not serve this purpose in the same way.
Now that we've discussed what you need to know, let's talk about the skills you should develop for this section. 1. Identify key documents. You should be able to recognize important documents such as the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and understand their significance. 2. Understand the structure of the U.S. government. This means knowing how the government is organized. O. The executive branch, led by the president, enforces laws. O. The legislative branch, made up of Congress, makes laws. O. The judicial branch, which includes the Supreme Court, interprets laws. 3. Analyze the rights and responsibilities of U.S. citizens. This includes understanding the rights given to citizens by the Constitution and the responsibilities that come with those rights, such as voting and serving on a jury.
Let's check your understanding with a practice question. Which branch of the U.S. government is responsible for interpreting laws? The executive branch. B. The legislative branch. C. The judicial branch. D. The bureaucratic branch. The correct answer is C. The judicial branch. The judicial branch is responsible for interpreting laws and ensuring that they are applied fairly. This is done by courts, with the highest court being the Supreme Court.
Now, let's move on to economics. Understanding basic economic principles is another important aspect of the GED Social Studies section. Key concepts to know include 1. Basic economic concepts. O. Supply and demand. This is the relationship between the availability of goods, supply, and the desire for those goods, demand. When demand increases and supply remains the same, prices tend to rise. O. Scarcity. This is the idea that resources, like time and money, are limited and therefore we must make choices about how to allocate them. O. Opportunity cost. This is the cost of choosing one option over another. If you choose to spend your time studying for the GED rather than working, the opportunity cost is the income you could have earned. O. Market economies. These are economies where decisions about production and investment are guided by the price signals created by supply and demand. 2. Types of economies. O. Market economy. The economy is driven by the choices of individuals and businesses. O. Command economy. The government makes all decisions about what is produced and how. O. Mixed economy. A combination of both market and command economies. 3. Fiscal and monetary policy. O. Fiscal policy refers to government spending and taxation decisions. O. Monetary policy involves the control of the money supply and interest rates by the central bank to influence the economy.
Let's see how well you've absorbed the information with a sample question. What is the law of supply and demand? A. When demand exceeds supply, prices tend to rise. B. When supply exceeds demand, prices tend to rise. C. When demand exceeds supply, prices tend to fall. D. Supply and demand have no effect on prices. The correct answer is A. When demand exceeds supply, prices tend to rise. This is one of the fundamental principles of economics. If more people want a product than is available, the price goes up because of high demand and limited supply.
Now let's go over some of the skills you'll need to develop for the economics portion of the test. 1. Analyze supply and demand curves. Understand how the price of goods is influenced by supply and demand. 2. Understand how economic decisions impact businesses and consumers. Know how choices made by businesses, governments, and consumers affect the economy. 3. Understand economic indicators. This includes key measures such as GDP, gross domestic product, and inflation, which are used to assess the health of the economy.
Let's finish this section with one more practice question. Which of the following would likely happen if a country experiences inflation? The value of money decreases. B. Interest rates decrease. C. Unemployment rates increase. D. The country's economy becomes more stable. The correct answer is A. The value of money decreases. When inflation occurs, the general price level increases, which means that the purchasing power of money decreases. This is why things become more expensive during periods of inflation.
Great job! We've covered key concepts in civics and government and economics. As you continue studying for the GED, remember that understanding these foundational ideas will help you think critically about history, government, and the economy in both the past and present. Let's keep moving forward with the next section when you're ready.
Physical geography. Physical geography is the study of Earth's physical features. These include landforms like mountains, valleys, and plateaus, as well as bodies of water such as rivers, lakes, and oceans. Understanding these features is crucial because they influence human activities such as where people live and how they travel. Landforms are shaped by natural processes over millions of years. For example, mountains are often formed by tectonic plate movements, while valleys are created by erosion. Rivers and lakes are vital sources of fresh water, supporting both ecosystems and human civilizations. You'll also need to understand climate zones. Earth has various climate zones, ranging from tropical climates near the equator to polar climates near the poles. The climate influences agriculture, settlement patterns, and economic activities. For example, tropical zones are great for farming crops like bananas and cocoa, while Arctic climates have minimal human habitation due to harsh conditions. Ecosystems are another important part of physical geography. These are communities of living organisms interacting with their environment. Forests, deserts, and wetlands each support unique plants and animals, and each ecosystem plays a role in maintaining the planet's balance. Human geography. Human geography focuses on how humans interact with the environment. This includes the study of population distribution, migration patterns, and urbanization. For instance, population distribution shows where people live and why certain areas are more densely populated than others. Factors like climate, economic opportunities, and access to resources like water can influence where people settle. Migration patterns are also important. People move for various reasons. Some move due to natural disasters like floods or droughts, while others migrate for better job opportunities or to escape conflict. Migration has both short-term and long-term impacts on the areas people leave and the areas they move to. Urbanization is the process by which more people move from rural to urban areas, creating cities and expanding existing ones. This often happens because people seek better job opportunities, education, and healthcare in cities. However, urbanization also leads to challenges such as overcrowding, pollution, and strain on infrastructure like transportation and sanitation.
Interpreting geographic data and maps. Being able to read and interpret maps and geographic data is a crucial skill. You'll be working with different types of maps, such as political maps, physical maps, and thematic maps. Political maps show boundaries between countries, states, or regions, while physical maps display natural features like mountains, rivers, and forests. Thematic maps focus on specific data, like population density, climate zones, or economic activity in a region. For example, a map showing population density can help you understand which areas of a country or region are heavily populated and why. Understanding scales on maps is also important. A scale helps you determine distances on a map. For instance, if a map has a scale of 1 inch equals 100 miles, you can use it to estimate distances between locations. Understanding the effects of human activity on the environment. Humans impact the environment in many ways. Urbanization, deforestation, and pollution are just a few examples of how human activities can harm the environment. Cities can cause air and water pollution, while industries may release harmful chemicals into the atmosphere and waterways. Deforestation, or the cutting down of trees, reduces habitats for wildlife and contributes to climate change by releasing carbon dioxide stored in trees. However, humans can also take steps to protect the environment. Conservation efforts, renewable energy sources like solar and wind power, and sustainable farming practices are ways to reduce our impact. Being aware of these issues will help you understand the role geography plays in the relationship between humans and their environment. Analyzing trends in population growth and migration. Population growth is an important trend to watch. Understanding how and why populations grow can help explain economic development, resource consumption, and environmental challenges. For example, countries with high birth rates and low death rates experience rapid population growth, which can put pressure on resources like food, water, and housing. Migration trends also play a significant role in shaping the world. As people move, they influence the cultures, economies, and environments of both their origin and destination countries. Understanding migration patterns, whether voluntary or forced, can help explain shifts in population density and the cultural makeup of regions.
Let's dive into a sample question on physical geography. Which of the following is a major feature of a desert ecosystem? The options are A. Dense vegetation and frequent rainfall. B. Sparse vegetation and extreme temperature fluctuations. C. Continuous rainfall and humid conditions. D. Lush tropical forests and steady rainfall. The correct answer is B. Sparse vegetation and extreme temperature fluctuations. Deserts are known for having very little rainfall, and the temperature can vary greatly between day and night, often reaching extreme highs during the day and cooling drastically at night.
Here's a question on human geography. Which factor is most likely to contribute to population growth in a city? The options are limited job opportunities. B. High levels of pollution. C. Better healthcare and education. D. Harsh living conditions. The correct answer is C. Better healthcare and education. Cities tend to attract people seeking better access to healthcare, education, and job opportunities. These factors often lead to population growth as people move to urban areas for improved living standards.
Now let's consider a question about interpreting data. If a map shows that a region with abundant natural resources has a growing population, what conclusion can be drawn about this region? The options are: the population growth is likely unrelated to the natural resources. B. The region's natural resources are being depleted at a fast rate. C. The region's economy is likely thriving due to access to resources. D. The region's population is decreasing due to resource scarcity. The correct answer is C. The region's economy is likely thriving due to access to resources. Regions rich in natural resources tend to attract people because these resources create economic opportunities, such as jobs in mining, farming, or manufacturing.
World history, what to know. Ancient civilizations, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Rome, etc. When studying ancient civilizations, it's important to recognize how they laid the foundations for modern societies. Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization, introduced writing, law codes, and early forms of government. Ancient Egypt is renowned for its advancements in architecture, religion, and science. Greece introduced democracy, philosophy, and the arts, while Rome contributed to law, government, and engineering. Understanding these civilizations' contributions is key to seeing how modern societies have developed. For example, the Code of Hammurabi from Mesopotamia was one of the earliest written legal systems. In Egypt, the pyramids reflect incredible engineering and religious beliefs. In Greece, the concepts of democracy and philosophy still influence us today, while the Roman Empire's legacy is seen in modern legal systems and infrastructure. Medieval and Renaissance history. Feudalism, the rise of monarchies, the Reformation. The medieval period in Europe was dominated by feudalism, a social and economic system where land was exchanged for military service. Kings and queens were at the top, but real power often rested with nobles and knights who controlled large estates. Understanding feudalism helps explain how societies were structured and why power was decentralized in many regions. The Renaissance was a period of great cultural rebirth, where art, science, and philosophy flourished. Figures like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo transformed art, while thinkers like Galileo and Copernicus challenged traditional views of the world. The Reformation, led by Martin Luther, challenged the authority of the Catholic Church and sparked religious and political changes across Europe. Modern history, world wars, Cold War, and contemporary global issues. Modern history includes the significant events of the 20th century, such as the two World Wars and the Cold War. The World Wars reshaped borders, economies, and societies, and the Cold War created a global power struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. These conflicts affected millions of lives and led to significant technological and social changes. In the post-World War II era, the Cold War led to a division of the world into two blocs: capitalist Western countries led by the US and communist Eastern countries led by the USSR. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the end of the Cold War and the beginning of a new global era.
Which of the following was a major cause of the fall of the Roman Empire? The rise of Christianity. B. The conquest by the Mongols. C. The collapse of the medieval church. D. The invasion of barbarian tribes. Answer: D. The invasion of barbarian tribes. The fall of the Roman Empire was significantly accelerated by invasions from barbarian tribes such as the Visigoths and Vandals. These invasions weakened the empire's borders and resources, ultimately contributing to its collapse.
World history, skills to develop. Analyze the causes and effects of historical events. In world history, analyzing the causes and effects of historical events allows us to understand not just what happened, but why it happened and what resulted from it. For instance, World War I was triggered by a complex web of alliances, militarism, nationalism, and imperialism, but the immediate cause was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Understanding these causes helps us analyze the broader effects on global politics, economies, and societies. For example, the Treaty of Versailles, which ended World War I, led to significant political and territorial changes in Europe. However, it also sowed the seeds for World War II by imposing harsh penalties on Germany. This is a clear example of the long-term effects of historical events. Identify key figures and events in world history. Understanding the key figures and events in world history helps us see how individuals and moments can shape the course of history. From Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar to Mahatma Gandhi and Winston Churchill, key leaders have influenced the outcomes of wars, the development of nations, and the shaping of political ideologies. Equally important are key events, such as the Industrial Revolution, the French Revolution, and the end of apartheid in South Africa. These events not only shaped their respective nations but also had lasting global impacts. Understand global conflicts and their impact on societies. Global conflicts like World War I, World War II, and the Cold War have shaped societies in profound ways. World War I led to the collapse of empires, like the Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian empires, and the rise of new nation-states. World War II resulted in the division of Germany and the rise of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, creating the framework for the Cold War. Understanding the long-term effects of conflicts helps us appreciate the global order and the ongoing impact of issues like terrorism, civil wars, and regional conflicts. These events affect political, economic, and social systems in both direct and indirect ways.
Which of the following factors contributed most to the outbreak of World War I? A. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. B. The signing of the Versailles Treaty. C. The expansion of the British Empire. D. The spread of communism. Answer. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, in June 1914 was the immediate catalyst for World War I. His death set off a chain of events that involved alliances, declarations of war, and the mobilization of armies across Europe.
Interpreting graphs and charts. In social studies, you may encounter graphs and charts that represent important trends in history. Whether it's population growth, economic indicators, or voting patterns, interpreting these data visuals is essential. The key is to understand what the graph is showing and what conclusions can be drawn. For example, a graph showing the decline of the British Empire's colonial holdings could highlight patterns of decolonization after World War II. By analyzing such trends, we can see how global power dynamics shifted in the 20th century. Identifying patterns. Recognizing patterns is another crucial skill in analyzing historical data. Patterns can be seen in population growth, migration, economic change, or the rise and fall of empires. For example, the rise of industrialization in Europe during the 19th century led to urbanization and changes in economic systems. Identifying these patterns allows us to understand how societies change over time. Drawing inferences. Drawing inferences means making conclusions based on evidence. In social studies, this could involve looking at the causes of the Great Depression and using historical data to infer how the stock market crash in 1929 contributed to widespread unemployment and economic hardship. In other cases, you may infer the social and political effects of significant events, such as the civil rights movement in the US, by analyzing changes in laws, voting patterns, and public attitudes over time.
What does a positive correlation between the unemployment rate and crime rate indicate? A. As unemployment decreases, crime decreases. B. As unemployment increases, crime decreases. C. As unemployment increases, crime increases. D. There is no relationship between unemployment and crime. Answer. C. As unemployment increases, crime increases. A positive correlation means that as one variable, unemployment, increases, the other variable, crime, also increases. This suggests that higher unemployment might lead to more economic desperation, which could contribute to higher crime rates. Alright, let's talk about a crucial skill for the GED Social Studies exam: evaluating sources and arguments. Whether you're analyzing a historical document, a political speech, or a news article, you need to be able to determine if the information is credible and whether any biases might be influencing it. Evaluating sources. First, how do we decide if a source is reliable? A trustworthy source is one that is based on evidence, facts, and expertise. One of the best ways to assess credibility is to look at who wrote it and why they wrote it. Ask yourself, who is the author? Are they an expert in the field? What is the author's purpose? Are they trying to inform, persuade, or promote an agenda? Is the information supported by evidence? Are there facts, statistics, or primary sources backing up their claims? Is there bias? Everyone has perspectives, but strong bias can influence the accuracy of the information. For example, let's say you're reading about the causes of the American Revolution. A British historian writing in 1776 may present events very differently than an American patriot from the same period. That doesn't mean you should ignore one source, but you should compare multiple perspectives to get a fuller picture. Building an argument. Now, once you have credible information, you need to use it effectively. In the GED Social Studies exam, you might be asked to analyze arguments or even make your own. Strong arguments are based on facts and reasoning rather than personal opinions or emotions. Look for claims supported by evidence, such as laws, official records, or research studies. Drawing conclusions. Finally, we use evidence to make reasoned conclusions. When answering questions, don't just rely on assumptions or gut feelings. Base your answer on what the evidence actually shows. Let's look at a sample question. Which of the following is the best way to evaluate the reliability of a historical source? Check if the source agrees with popular opinion. B. Look at the author's background and purpose for writing. C. Ignore any opposing viewpoints. D. Focus only on primary sources. The correct answer is B. Look at the author's background and purpose for writing. While primary sources are valuable, they can still contain bias. And just because something is popular doesn't make it true. The best way to assess reliability is to consider who wrote it and why they wrote it. So, as you prepare for the GED Social Studies exam, practice questioning your sources, looking for evidence, and forming logical conclusions. These skills will not only help you on the test but also in everyday life when evaluating news, social media, and historical events.
Summary and final tips for Social Studies GED success. You understand key topics. Focus on understanding major themes like U.S. history, world history, geography, and government. Pay attention to important events, figures, and historical processes as they are often the foundation of test questions. They develop critical thinking skills. Practice analyzing historical sources, drawing conclusions from data, and evaluating evidence. This will help you in both multiple choice and short answer questions. Master interpreting graphs and data. Be comfortable with reading and analyzing graphs, charts, and tables. These are common in social studies questions, and being able to draw inferences from data will give you an edge. A focus on cause and effect. Understanding the causes and effects of historical events is crucial. Many questions will ask you to identify how certain events shaped the world or led to other significant changes. Review sample questions. Practice sample questions to become familiar with the question format and test your understanding of key concepts. This will help you feel more confident on test day. Stay calm and confident. The GED Social Studies test requires critical thinking, but with preparation and practice, you can succeed. Trust in your knowledge and reasoning skills. Final thought. Remember, the Social Studies GED is not just about memorizing facts. It's about understanding history, geography, government, and economics, and being able to think critically about the world around you. Good luck, and keep practicing.